Hello. Just wanted to take a few minutes to review a current comic book title slash series that I'm reading right now. It is called Ringside, brought to you by Image, writer Joe Keatinge, artist Nick Barber, colorist Simon Gao, letterer Ariana Maher, editor Shana Matsuzak. Yeah, I probably butchered some of those names. The logo was designed by Brandon Graham. Why would I mention the logo? Because look at that logo. It's pretty tight, and man, would I love a job like that, is to design the comic book's logo or even help with their design layout. Anyway, Ringside, brought to you by Image. Ringside opens up, and we're in Tokyo, Japan, and we're introduced to a wrestler who's obviously been out of the ring for a while, and he's in Tokyo as a trainer. His name is Dan, otherwise his stage name is the Minotaur. And the Minotaur, I guess, is some huge legend, great wrestler of the past. It's also introduced here that he's broken ties pretty severely in the United States, which is why he's in Tokyo as a trainer. And we're not disclosed to why that is. He doesn't seem like he wants anything to do with his past or any of the nostalgia of what he was. But he's going back to the States to take care of some unfinished business. And that's when it gets kind of interesting. So he leaves Tokyo, but he calls for a hookup, a ride to get him back to where he needs to be. And we're introduced to a new face, a young wrestler. At this time, his name is Reynolds. He is befriended by a veteran wrestler, and I looked through the issue a few times, and if I missed it, I apologize, but I don't see his name. So I'm going to call him Doc Hendricks for now, because he looks like the wrestler Doc Hendricks from WWE. He's in... Whoa, where am I going? He's that guy. No, he's that guy right there. So it looks like Doc Hendricks, and that's Reynolds, the young wrestler who's with him right now. So the Minotaur calls Doc Hendricks and sets up and says, hey, coming back in. Can you meet me? We'll, get around for some chit-chat and catch up on some stuff. He goes around with what he's been doing, and he says he's been to Japan, and he's asked him, are you wrestling? Nope, just a trainer. And he's like, all right, well, come on in, we'll see ya. So Minotaur lands, and he's greeted by his ride. This guy. And chit chat, how's your trip? Nice to see you back. Minotaur's awesome and takes him to his ride. But he says he has to drop him off, or he has to stop at his office before he takes him to his final destination because he wants to show him a few things. And the Minotaur says, of course, I'll go. So he goes there and he pitches the Minotaur an idea to get back in the business as a bail bondsman using the character Minotaur and his old catchphrase that says, no one escapes the Minotaur. But the Minotaur just gets a big old frown on his face. Says, I don't own the name. Corporate owns the name. Don't ever show that stuff to me again. It's, he just wants to be done with it. Really upset. So the guy apologizes. Oh, I'm sorry. So he ends up taking him to where he needs to be, drops him off, and he meets another guy. The Minotaur does. And again, an unnamed character. But she's in a wheelchair. She takes him to her house, and they have a night of drinking, reminiscing, and the question, why are you here, Minotaur? And he basically says, I'm here to finish some old business with a man named Teddy. And she gets all worried, says, oh boy, this isn't going to be good, is it? And he's like, is it ever good when Teddy's mentioned? Next day they meet up with Doc Hendricks and Reynolds, and they are introduced. Minotaur just kind of not befriends, but kind of breaks in the ropes with the young wrestler, tells him to save his money, tells him to have a life, and otherwise you're going to get sucked into the business 24/7, and it'll leave you dry pretty quickly. So they talk again, and the young wrestler listens, and they call it a night. Doc Hendricks guy says, I'm sorry I can't go with you to help this thing out with whatever you got going on, but good luck. And the Minotaur basically says, it's okay, I gotta handle this alone anyway. So we cut to a bar. Minotaur's in there alone, and someone walks in. Hey, are you Dan? You the guy meeting with Teddy? He says, yep, I'm here waiting for him. Says, well, I'm glad I got you, because if you know anything about Teddy, he hasn't been feeling well, and I've been taking care of him. Maybe it's best that we could step outside and have a little chit-chat. So Minotaur gets up, says, lead the way. And the moment he steps outside the door, he's met with a big old pipe wrench right across the face. And there's 5 guys there, and they just start knocking him down. They beat him up big time. And the Minotaur happens to get back up and laid some smackdown, as we'll say, on some of the guys. But one of the guys hits his head against the brick wall, and then a foot is in his throat, and just not going to happen. But he still tries. He gets back up and knocks another guy down, and then they hit him in the face again with a pipe wrench. And he's knocked out. He's done. And the guy just says, hey, he says some bad words in here. He says, just stay down, stay lost, go back to Tokyo, never come back to the States again. And then leave him in the alley. Don't kill him, beat him up pretty bad. 2 hits to the face with a pipe wrench will do that. So next morning, early morning, the lady who took him in says, what the heck happened? She's got a big surprised face, expression on her face. And she says, you should go to the hospital. Any normal person would, but this is Ringside, right? Remember I showed you Ringside? That's what this is. And he's like, no. I need to take care of this stuff. Are you still holding? Is the question he asks her. And she's like, holding? Yeah, my collection's grown, but yeah, I'm still holding. And she takes him to her room. It's a big old room with like a dozen more, probably a lot more guns, rifles, pistols, shotguns, semi-automatics, just everywhere. He says, yeah, that'll do. He says, things went pretty hard last night, and what you have on the wall will be a good start. And you're left with probably the coolest illustration in the comic of the Minotaur there. And you can see he's pretty beat up bad, but he's still walking, and he's got vengeance on his mind. And that concludes issue 1 of Ringside. As I was reading this, I got a real feel for another Image title out there that I love. I've never reviewed it here on this YouTube network yet, but maybe one day I will. Anyway, the title I'm talking about or referring to is Southern Bastards. I got a real tone from Ringside that reminisces with that title too. So that's good and bad. Good because, well, I love that title, and it's reminiscent of it, follows the same kind of parallels, but it's not good in the fact that we have a story out there that's already like that. But Ringside obviously takes us down the avenue of wrestling as a background. And, they've dropped some wrestling terms in there, jobbing, payday, a face and all that stuff. And I'm a big fan of wrestling, in case you didn't know. I never said that to you before, but I'm saying it now. I'm a big fan of wrestling. And hopefully along those lines, this title will get a little bit more originality and have some legs to stand on its own in that regard. So issue 1 hooked me in. I'll be getting issue 2 and see where it goes from there. The art, pretty decent. Again, almost reminiscent. It's like a cleaner Southern Bastards kind of style. And if you've never read that title, well, then you have no idea what I'm talking about. But they've got a few parallels. So I'll pick up issue number 2. We'll see how that goes. And I thank you for your time listening to me talk about Ringside number 1 from Image, and I highly recommend you reading it. Thanks, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.